Begode has been dropping hints of their next big wheel release all the way back in the winter of 2024. During their International Race Invitational, several racer and YouTubers received early preview of their experimental 210-volt prototype. And despite the agreement not to disclose any details, stories of incredible performances has been trickling out over the past few months.
Oh my god.
And hype for the new wheel and tech has been slowly building over the past few months, culminating in a speed run that Brian did with their new prototype, where he was able to pull an incredible 74 miles per hour run at an undisclosed location in Shenzhen, China, on Elber's 2-cell 1-pack channel. And on Friday, Begode finally officially announced the race, and on top of that, they sweetened the deal with an incredible offer of $2,480 for the first 100 order. And this is such an absolutely shocking announcement, I just feel compelled to make a video to talk about it. Let me explain why. Now, it's been a while since I made a preview video, and part of the reason is the pace of change for electric unicycle has been absolutely staggering. Back when I started this channel a few years ago, be lucky if we get 2 new wheels a year, but more recently it feels almost like we're getting a brand new wheel announcement almost on a monthly basis, and much of that is attributed to Begode and their incredible pace of wheel iterations.
Innoventing.
Just in the last few months, we have had the Panther, CA, Blitz Pro, M10-5s, A5. So many wheels, I'm really having a hard time just keeping track of it all. And it's getting to the point where an electric unicycle reviewer like me can hardly keep up and even attempt to try to review every single wheel release. And this is nothing new. Begode always seem to have a hard time understanding exactly what makes one of their wheels successful versus not. And unlike Leprechaun, who spends a year engineering and slowly refining their single release, Begode takes the shotgun approach, and some would say spreading themselves thin by releasing a multitude of new models, some of them rapid iteration of one another, in the hope of finding 1 or 2 models that would sell when all others fails, which may be a viable strategy for a bleeding edge tech company, which Begode no doubt sees as. But this approach also makes the act of buying an often expensive Begode product a bit of a roulette. You may just as likely getting a Begode wheel that somehow capture the lightning bottle and have everything lined up right and give you awesome performances as you would a dud where there's some sort of persistent mechanical or software problem that is quickly forgotten, or even worse, iterate on by Begode, who will quickly release updated version which supersede and render the wheel you just spent your hard-earned money on worthless, such as the original Master, which is an excellent wheel release. However, Begode quickly released iterations V2, V3 mere month after the original introduction that is just sufficiently improved so as to tank the original resale value of prior revisions. This is nothing new and is something known to any hardcore Begode fan, and it's also why Leprechaun wheel tend to retain significantly better resale value. A Sherman LRA Lynx, even though they're a few years old, still remain current as compared to a Begode wheel released in similar time frame, the Extreme, which now feels like ancient history since it is now 5 or 6 revisions old. And Begode fan puts up with this insanity and chalk it up to the price you pay for bleeding edge tech, and for the most part that is still what you get when you purchase a Begode product. Build quality and pricing may be a bit suspect, but the fastest and most powerful electric unicycle you can get in the segment, which brings us to the Begode Race, the latest in a long range of record-shattering Begode release, and the very first 210 210-volt electric unicycle in the world. And for those initiating the strange world of electric unicycle, higher voltage usually, if not always, translated to greater performance output and higher top speed. The 100-volt era saw speed rises from 40 all the way to 50 miles per hour, and 134-volt pushed that all the way up to 60 miles per hour. And of course, the most recent 168-volt releases, which is able to achieve the insane 70 miles per hour peak that I saw recently with the GT Pro and the Panther. So the question is, will the 210-volt wheel allow us to crack the big 8.0? I guess we'll find out once the wheels start getting into the hands of YouTube reviewers and racers. But if Brian Diller's incredible 74 miles per hour run is any indication, it certainly is promising. So am I excited to ride the Begode Race? Absolutely, of course I am. However, I may not actually get the chance to do so, and we'll kind of get to that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about that pricing and why it rings all kind of alarm bells for me. And this may not seem strange in the age of GoFundMe, where a startup company regularly turn to social media and consumer direct to fund their initial batch of productions. But the thing here is that Begode ain't exactly new. Begode Intelligent Tech, formerly known as Godway, has been in the electric unicycle business for almost 10 years. And if you are wondering how they were able to fund all their past wheel releases, well, that is where the dealers come into play. In the past, Begode would announce a brand new wheel, drum up as much excitement as it can in the community, and then turn to the dealer who, based on the amount of enthusiasm there are, commit to large quantity order and front Begode all the cash they need for the initial production run. And my question is, why is that no longer an option for Begode? Have the dealers lost so much trust in Begode's product that they are no longer willing to back them financially? And I know there are some in the UC community who have very little sympathies for the dealers and their plight, and see them as nothing more than a shipping intermediary that takes a cut from their hard-earned dollars. But aside from providing crucial after-sale support for those of us too lazy to turn a wrench on our own electric unicycle, they also assume a significant amount of financial risk with each brand new wheel releases. As a matter of fact, if it weren't for Jason, who put up a large chunk of cash by putting in a large quantity order for the original Sherman to the, at the time, untested veteran Leaperkin company, there's a good chance that that company may not even exist today. And because of their larger exposure and history in the UC market, dealers also tend to have a better overall idea of the quality and reliability of a UC company's product. And it reflects poorly on Begode if the dealers indeed decided to pull their support. And yes, that relationship has always been a contentious one. On numerous occasions, Begode have went behind their back and sold direct to consumer as part of group buys, which is then followed by apologies to the dealers and promise that they will not do this anymore. But by offering their latest and greatest flagship 210-volt wheel at a price so low that dealers could never ever match, Begode has, for all intent and purposes, told them all to take a hike. By the way, in addition to fronting the cash for production costs, dealers also foot the bill for marketing. The demo wheels I ride regularly are purchased and shipped by the dealer, with very little of that cost ever being paid for by the EUC companies themselves, which is also why, with the ending of that relationship between Begode and all the dealers, there's a good chance that I may never get to ride and review the Begode Race. The other problem with that $2,500 pricing is that as the flagship wheel, the Race should have been the most expensive model in Begode's lineup, and by dropping its price, it also make all the other wheel in their lineup look expensive by comparison. Why buy a Panther for $4,000 to $5,000 when you can have the brand new hotness for almost half of that? And of course, this not only impact the dealers and all all of their stock. It also make anyone who recently purchased a Begode wheel instantly regret their decision to do so. Though people's feelings are hurt and the dealers will probably lose a whole bunch of money, who cares? If you're one of the 100 early purchaser of the race and lock in that sweet $2,500 price tag, then all is peachy, right? Well, I'm not so sure about that. Factoring shipping, which runs about $400 to $500, another $600 to $700 for import tariff. Thank you, Mr. Trump. You're left with about $1,500 as the price you would pay if you were to show up at the Begode factory in Shenzhen to pick up a wheel, which seems suspiciously low to me. Far more likely scenario to me is that Begode is assuming that they will somehow circumvent the import tariff, which they may have done with direct-to-customer group buy shipping in the past. However, that is a far smaller quantity as compared to their current direct-to-consumer plan, since they have raised their price from the initial $2,500 price locked in for the first 100 order. It's a safe bet that they had at least sold 100, and a few hundred wheel is a lot harder to hide from border control custom. And if it is flagged, guess who is going to have to come up with the additional $1,000 in duties in order to release the wheel from border control? Not Begode, I suspect, unfortunately. And even if we ignore the threat of tariff and the problem with ending of relationship between Begode and all their dealers, there is still the question of why is Begode doing this? And all the potential reason I can think of, none of them are good. Every single next-gen higher voltage electric unicycle release has been a flagship wheel for Begode and commanded a premium for their boundary-breaking performances. And on top of that, there are also significant engineering milestones for Begode and reinforce its might in performance. This has been the case going all the way back to the original 100-volt MSX, the 134-volt Master, and the 168-volt ET Max. These are all wheels that were the future for Begode, and it is unusual, to say the least, for Begode to discount their flagship wheel at the moment of its release. And on top of that, when it comes to discount, usually we're talking about 10 to 20 or even 30%. A 50% reduction in price is not a discount. It is a clearance. And I personally find it disturbing that Begode has decided to put its future on the clearance rack. That is not a thing a company would do in anything short of absolute desperation. Begode, the company formerly known as Begode, has always been near and dear to my heart. I still have a whole lot of fond memory for the very first high-performance electric unicycle I ever purchased, the Begode Monster. That was a beautifully riding wheel that I love, but it also have many absolute annoyances that is still evident with wheel releases from Begode today. And I still remember much of the love that early UC rider had for Begode Gateway, the only electric unicycle company that trusts its ridership enough to always give them 110% when it comes to what the technology is capable of. But that no longer feels like the case anymore. Low resale value, poor build quality, and persistent issue that should have been easy fixes has been eating away at whatever trust there is left. And more I feel like the only people left in the Begode camp are those who are die-hard, who are either looking for a discount, and I'm sure none of these are things that Begode likes or even cared to hear about. But as a friend, I think it's time for an intervention, Begode. So what do you think? Is the steep discount and the middle finger to all the dealer a good reason for concern? Or am I worrying over nothing? And this is just the natural evolution of Begode being Begode. Wow, that is what the comment section below is for. This video will hopefully solicit some interest from Begode, so use it as an opportunity to let them know what it is you think of what they are doing.
Time I make a run, girl, you turn around and cry. I ask myself why,
And you know what? Once again, I ramble on too long and somehow managed to waste another 15 minutes of your life, but I hope you enjoyed it. despite all of my complaining and the different format that is.
Right, exactly. I was doing 80 miles per hour. I swear the camera is just not on. That's all.
Shout out to my supporter on Patreon. Please check out the link in the video description below if you enjoy and like to support my work. And as always, as much as we all love electric unicycle, the only way for us to get better wheel is to grow as a community. So tell your friend, teach them how to ride, and get them hooked. Until the next video, thank you.